at quarterback, we'll share our top 10. And, well, I'll share my top 10 first. And then you let me know, anything that really sticks out to you, and I'll elaborate more. But coming in at number one for me was Patrick Mahomes. I do think, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback heading into 2021. I wouldn't disagree with other options like Aaron Rodgers, who won MVP, Tom Brady, anybody like that. But I have Patrick Mahomes at one, Aaron Rodgers at two, Lamar Jackson at three, Russell Wilson at four, Deshaun Watson at five. That's barring if he plays, of course. Matthew Stafford at six, Josh Allen at seven, Dak Prescott at eight, Tom Brady at nine, and Justin Herbert barely clipping ahead, Kyler Murray at 10.
Wow, Jake. I think the one that really sticks out for me, and I just think it's really high because, like, there's no doubting his talent, but it's when teams force him to stay in the pocket and throw the ball, he can't seem to do it effectively, and that's Lamar Jackson. I just think three is way too high for him. Like, there's no doubt. Like, I think he's a good quarterback, but I think we've seen, like, when the Ravens go up against these good teams that take away his ability to kind of escape the pocket and run, and he's forced to stand back there and throw the ball. His accuracy goes away. His mechanics start to go. So that one was a little surprising for me. But outside of that, we basically have about the same top 10. I also have Patrick Mahomes at number one. I have Aaron Rodgers at number two. I have my guy Josh Allen at number three. I love Josh Allen. Love what he did last year. He took huge steps. I mean, there were people coming out that really didn't give him a chance to become anything in the NFL. They were calling him a bust right away.
Definitely wasn't me.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
And so he took huge steps last year. I think kind of showed, he was in the MVP race up until the end. And so I think he kind of showed people what he was. Russell Wilson is obviously Russell Wilson. We see him twice a year. We know he's about. At five, I have Tom Brady. I mean, what he did last year, what is he now, 40 years old? Like,
no, he's gonna be like 44, bro.
like how old is this guy? When is he gonna stop? Like, what he's doing, like, before this year, I think people just kind of paired him and Belichick together as kind of one. And he went on his own, took a franchise that really hasn't done anything since they last won the Super Bowl. And in his first year, he takes him to the Super Bowl. And so I have him at five. Deshaun Watson, I have him at six. And again, that's if he plays. I have Matthew Stafford at seven. There's some Rams fans that say, oh, Matthew Stafford isn't a top 10 quarterback. Matthew Stafford's a top 10 quarterback. And he's a top 10 quarterback and possibly a top 5 talent. So the Rams will be happy to get this guy. At 8, like you, I have Dak Prescott. At 9, I have Justin Herbert. And then this one's my surprise. I don't have Lamar Jackson in my top 10. I actually have Ryan Tannehill.
Okay.
I think, what Tannehill's done in Tennessee is when Tannehill was in Miami, people kind of wrote him off as kind of a bust as well. And what he's done in Miami, he's been very efficient and really been a reason for their playoff runs the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Tannehill one. I like you giving credit because I feel bad for not giving him credit. I'd say Matt Ryan is, a name that should be mentioned as an honorable mention. But, it just was really between Herbert and Kyler at 10 for me. If this was fantasy, I think Kyler because of, the running. But if we're talking like we are right now, just strictly who are the better players? And this is heading into 2021. That's the reason Brady's so low for me. I know people know that, like, I'm not a believer that Tom Brady is my GOAT, so to speak, but it doesn't mean I don't think he's a top 3 all-time quarterback, and I respect his game. But I do feel like coming into 2021, he takes a little bit of a step back. I don't think the Bucs do, and I think that's why that they added Giovanni Bernard, because I think they're going to use him a ton out of the backfield, get Tom Brady away from any sort of contact with anybody. Anybody starts to rush him. You have Jamal Adams, who might end up being the highest paid safety in football. He just got offered, a record-breaking contract, so he'll probably take that. But when you have guys like that in that conference, you have to expect, you're going to get the blitz, you're going to get pressure. And so having guys like Bernard, having guys like Fournette, And of course, Rojo. Uh, that's kind of my thought process there. Is that I think they'll go more run heavy, dink and dunk to save Brady, but I also think they have the weapons all around him to keep him going. I just don't think he's going to have quite the season he did last year. But I mean, he could, and if he does, I'll totally give him credit for it. But that's why he fell a little bit in my rankings. The guy I want to bring up before we head into the running backs, Dak Prescott, because I still don't understand. Dalton Miller, who covers, he writes for PFN. He covers the Cowboys. Friend of mine. He just put up a post on Twitter. I just saw it not too long ago, basically saying I can't talk football with people that think, like in 2021, that Dak Prescott is average. And I see this so much. Blaine, why do you think he has that average stigma around him? Because he's far from average and was on pace for over 6,000 yards and clearly an MVP candidate before he got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's look at it from a Rams fan standpoint. Like Jared Goff's first year, he goes 0-7 and is just this. He plays like this. This is tell how it is. Jared Goff was absolutely terrible in his rookie year. I mean, he showed flashes, but he was absolutely terrible, and a lot of that wasn't his fault. But I mean, let's look at Dak Prescott. I mean, he's this 4th round pick. He comes out and he's really like carried by Zeke Elliott. The run game. He has this great offensive line. He has these great. He has these really good wide receivers. He comes out. He has Dez Bryant. They add Amari Cooper. They have one of the all-time great tight ends in Jason Witten. Like he has all this help, and I think initially Dak Prescott kind of struggled with his accuracy a little bit, but and he doesn't really have that arm strength that some of the top guys have. But Dak Prescott, if he's mobile, he can escape the pocket. He has that intermediate short accuracy to his game. He can understand defenses. He's really improved his game from early in his career. And I think the people that don't watch the Cowboys kind of still see him as that guy that Prescott was early in his career, and he's not that player anymore. He's just top 10 quarterback.
I see my guy JT in here. He says it's 2 things with Dak: great situation, and he hasn't won anything meaningful. That I understand, but really, when you think about it, Tony Romo didn't win anything meaningful. And had Tony Romo been on a different team, I think Tony Romo would have had an opportunity to win Super Bowls and potentially go to the Hall of Fame. He's a very talented quarterback. You can go back to games where he threw 6 touchdowns, the defense gave up 7. So I think that followed Dak, and we saw it last year. Right when you thought that they had a defense, all of a sudden, a year turns around and they don't have a defense anymore. They don't have a secondary. They didn't bring back Byron Jones, and you saw that. So I'm really curious to see what Dan Quinn does with this defense this year. That's going to be huge for Dak as far as trying to win this division. I don't think they win the division, but he was absolutely on pace for over 6,000 yards. And he was just, I thought he was phenomenal before he got hurt. So, and don't get me wrong, he's got the weapons, but who doesn't have weapons? That's a great, quarterback at this point. I mean, Stafford's got plenty of weapons. You can look at Tom Brady. He's got plenty of weapons. They're all over the place, right? Rodgers doesn't have plenty, but he's got a good amount of weapons. Having, maybe the best wide receiver in football helps. Tannehill, Ryan, we can name them all. But, I just think that the knocks on Dak are really fair. If what JT said is accurate, absolutely, about not winning anything meaningful.
Well, that's also the argument. That's the argument of Stafford too. Like,
yeah,
Stafford doesn't want anything. Well, Stafford's one guy on his. Like, do you want Stafford to go out and play defense too? Like, he can't help that the Dallas defense is giving up 30 points a game. Like,
that exactly my point. So it's like, I remember, what was it? The game against Cleveland, they lost 41-39. I mean, they should have won that game. They absolutely should have won that game. And Cleveland came storming back at the end. The defense couldn't hold them. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I'll say on that. I think Dak is still severely underrated. Matthew Stafford's also severely underrated by some, because now everyone's like, oh, he's overrated. He went to the Rams and everyone's acting like all of a sudden he's this quarterback that he's not. Dave Kluge came on earlier in the week. He said it best. Over the last 10 years, Stafford's the best deep ball thrower in the game. He's the most accurate. So, I mean, Stafford has already shown that part of his game. the Rams have been lacking the deep ball. So now you look at what the Rams accomplished without that deep ball. Now that they'll have that with Stafford, and they'll have that manipulation of the pocket. I don't understand. So those two on that list are extremely underrated to me. Deshaun Watson is the outlier here because he might not play. So I don't know how your dog felt about that, but I guess I can't mention Deshaun Watson ever again.